All praises to Yahweh Bashim, Amashiach Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and salutation to the Akim pushing this word in truth and sincerity. Alright, this is the reason why you got Iran on the agenda now. All of a sudden, it's Syria is out of the picture, now they're picking on Iran. Why? Like it says there, Iran officially bans the US dollar, get ready for war. Because what did Saddam Hussein say? Don't want no more dollar, okay? Or either gold or euros. What did Saddam Hussein say? Pay me in gold. I don't want no more dollars. So the same thing is happening again. Anyway, I'm gonna play this, and this chat will further go in on this Esau. So take heed.
Added to the list. Yet another country has officially sworn itself off of the US dollar for good. The last couple instances of this action from other countries resulted in almost immediate, permanent repercussions. In this case here, we need to be very concerned as to how this will unfold. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we are going to look at what has happened to the US dollar. Let's begin. Iran bans the use of US dollar in trade. This is brand new information, and it is very important because it's not rhetoric, it's not talk. This is official. Previously they said, we are going to go away from the US dollar, we are going to take these actions. But now they have officially made that step. Tehran has announced that purchase orders by merchants that are based on US currency would no longer be allowed to go through import procedures. So an individual from the Central Bank of Iran made some statements. He explained it wouldn't create major trouble for traders because the share of the greenback in Iran's trade activities was not high. It's been for a long time that Iran's banking sector cannot use the dollar as a result of the sanctions. Okay? As a part of the trade embargo, US banks are banned from dealing with Iran. So you can see here that it seems like Iran wasn't the one that wanted to change anything, even though the exchange rate was terrible and getting worse. They were fine with the way things were, but they didn't really have a choice in this case. They're pushed to the edge, and they have to make this decision to start using alternatives. Considering that the use of the dollar is banned for Iran and traders are literally using alternative currencies in their transactions, there is no longer any reason to proceed with invoices that use the US dollar as the base rate. So no longer will they see that dollar. Beside these forms, they are going to be able to use alternative currencies. And it makes sense. They've been slowly going away from the dollar as time goes on. They've been taking this action already. And not because, as I said, not because they wanted to, but simply because they didn't have another choice. And so they are now just making it very, very obvious that they want to go away, moving everybody off onto alternative currencies. So I know most of you know this already, but there was a couple instances previously that didn't work out so well for the countries that decided to do away with the US dollar. One was Iraq, and the other was Libya. In both of these instances, they did away with the US dollar, and it happened very, very shortly after that an event took place. So we will see in the coming months if this changes anything. You know that Iran has already been in talks with China to do deals just between their two currencies, not using the US dollar, not using any sort of reserve currency, just doing deal between their own currencies. This is something that China's been doing with many countries, in fact. And so this is obviously putting a dent into the US dollar hegemony. Not going to happen overnight, even for a country like Iran. As I said, the exchange rate was becoming very, very horrible, and that affects the prices inside of their country. Remember that. Even though it's an exchange rate to the US dollar, it affects everything. So it's something that I believe will affect in a longer term scenario. You will see more imports, more exports taking place to countries like China where they're free to do business. All right. Switching gears here. US-China trade balance. Look how this has gone since the 90s. It's a progressively worse scenario. We do have short-term little spikes that the media would like to project, but the trend is down. The trend is very down. The trade balance will never get better, and China is definitely going to have a surplus. There are some, let's say, rules being put into place, some prevention, tariffs, all kinds of things that they're trying to get put in place. And it could change somewhat, depends on that. Until then, though, nothing is going to make this change, because a simple matter of fact, we've outsourced the jobs and it's not coming back. Now, this is a series of different charts, the same chart but different information on those charts. 6 decades of spending growth. Okay, so we're looking back from the 60s up until present day. And you can see very clearly the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been spent. And even when we see a small amount of deleveraging during the financial crisis, if there's one thing the government's good at, it's spending money. They do a great job of spending money. It is a black hole, no matter how much tax money they take from us. Somehow it just seems like they need more. Driving down the roads in Toronto, a city where we pay excessively high taxes, there are potholes. As I've said before, you have to be a Formula One race car driver to be able to maneuver these roads. The potholes are like sinkholes. There's all kinds of, a disastrous scenario out there, practically. And why? We keep paying more and more and more money. We're paying so much in property taxes, sales taxes, carbon taxes, all kinds of taxes. It doesn't matter how many taxes you add on, they're just going to take more and more money. So whether it is national offense, Medicare, Medicaid, doesn't matter, we are seeing things overall increasing. It's a fact. Now take a look at this. They basically put this information on the side here. Net interest, and then you see domestic entitlements making up the most of the percentage here, and then domestic discretionary and defense discretionary. These here, you can see the increases over time. This categories of spending: net interest, domestic, and defense. Seems like domestic is definitely a very, very large percentage. And this here, entitlement / mandatory, and appropriations / discretionary. It's just a different way to look at things. I thought it was interesting. Wanted to bring that to you. Now, one last article. Alan Greenspan. Recently, he came out with a statement and said, bonds look like they're in a bubble. Stocks are also getting a little too heated. And now he has made some new statements. Look at this. Now he's officially saying it. We are in a bond market bubble that's beginning to unwind. Prices are too high on bonds. Bond prices move inversely to bond yields, which spiked higher in the new year, recently hitting a 4-year high of just under 3%. Greenspan is in good company. Now, he talked in this article, basically they mention all the other individuals saying the same thing. In here, he also talks about the fact that stocks have gone too high as well. And the fact that it's with absolute certainty, invariably, interest rates rise, that puts a burden on stocks and they will fall. That's Alan Greenspan saying that. I do agree with him in this instance here. Stocks cannot do well. They can't perform well if interest rates are rising. Many people would say, but interest rates have been rising. That's right. Interest rates have been rising. So if this is our interest rate chart, okay, we are seeing interest rates basically right at the bottom. And they have been inching up slowly, slowly, slowly. And by the time it's the year 3000, maybe we'll get interest rates back up to where they were before. To me, it doesn't seem likely that they will be able to get anywhere near where they were previously on a historical level. Maybe the Fed funds rate at, let's say, 5%. There's no way. I think they're going to hit that ceiling on that interest rate rise, and I think that we will see a recession. Then you could see that they will simply drop it down as they always do. That's usually the way it goes. They seem to hit a level, and then something starts to crack, and they have to bring it back down. And ultimately, if you look at the chart on a long-term scenario, you can see that 1980, obviously around that region, we had this peak, and over time, you do see these rises in interest rates, but they can't get them back to where they were before. So every time it gets lower and lower and lower. And actually, I covered previously how the actual real Fed funds rate during the financial crisis dipped below zero in real terms, and then made its way slightly above. But you have to figure, what exactly are they going to do next time around? I think that they could very well go into negative territory officially. You know, it was Janet Yellen, everyone's favorite, who said, before even becoming the chair, she said, if it were positive to take interest rates into the negative, I would be voting for that. That's Janet the Felon Yellen. And they will do this in any crisis that they experience. They will bring it down to zero. If they need more, they'll just bring it down below zero. That's the way that this works. They only have two things that they can do. Number one is they can destroy the value of the currency with the quantitative easing measures, or they can destroy the value of the currency with negative interest rates or very, very low interest rates. In the end, the currency will be destroyed, and those who are, let's say, diversifying out of that are making a wise decision. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up.
Right.
Last but not least,
Everybody know that this dollar is officially finished, man. You see what I mean? And that's why everybody's dumping it, and that's why they're down in well, they want to go into Iran. See what I mean? Because they know that everything, this dollar, everybody's dumping it. They've done the same with like I said, with Saddam Hussein and Colonel Gaddafi. That's why Iran now is on the agenda, because they got rid of this worthless dollar. Anyway, on to the next.